I don't know how to read the shit that I wrote about AEW this week. I'll tell you that. I was using shorthand. I think so was Tony Khan when he gave the instructions.
Let's remind everyone this is the go-home show for the big pay-per-view event.
Yeah, and a lot of people went home. Do we have any ratings for this?
Let me see what I can pull up.
While you're looking at that, because I'm thinking they started fantastically and they finished strong, but in the middle, a lot of shit slipped and fell in a mud puddle. But I guess the best segment, and good Lord, they have managed in 3 years to get two of their own homegrown people that hadn't been seen on a widespread national television basis over, and they're both in the same program and both in the same segment here. MJF and Wardlow. Wardlow is the new Goldberg. I'm sensing the hysteria. There's not as many people. Goldberg had the good luck to come along during the Attitude Era, but there's not as many people watching, but they're as into Wardlow as they were to Goldberg. And the first match on the show, AEW, was May 25th, by the way, was Wardlow against Spears in the cage with MJF as referee. And the deal is, coming up on the pay-per-view this weekend, Wardlow has to go through all of these, jump through the hoops and fight Spears and beat him and can't touch MJF and blah, blah, blah. So they started out with this, try to keep the people, and this was the best thing they could have started with to keep people, because the people in the arena were into this from the start, and there was a couple of little things, but otherwise, this top to bottom did exactly what it was supposed to do, which is make people even more frantic to see Wardlow get his hands on MJF. And it was perfect. From MJF's heat getting referee outfit, and then Wardlow he's led to the ring. By the way, did you see the two security guys in the front when he first started the long walk? They looked like they were 12 years old.
The last several weeks, there have been some interesting looking security guards mixed in with some people who may or may not be felons.
Well, they had some big burly looking fuckers, and they put them in the back and had, it looked like fucking Hook's illegitimate cousin in front. But anyway, so MJF checks Wardlow, and then he's, for foreign objects, and then he's going to let him out of the handcuffs, but son of a gun, he can't find the key. And when he can't find the key, Spears flies over there and jump starts it, and then they're 2-on-1 beating the shit out of Wardlow while he's still handcuffed. And then Wardlow starts firing back on Spears, but MJF gets in front of him, dares him to punch him, and spits in his face. And Wardlow breaks the fucking cuffs, and there was a big pop. That was a perfect spot. And he makes the big comeback on Spears, and Spears tries to... Here was one of the two things coming up. Spears is trying to escape the cage. He's trying to climb over the top to get away from Wardlow, right? Within 2 to 3 minutes, they're going to demonstrate that the cage door was never locked. So just these things. But he makes a comeback. Spears tries to leave. Wardlow stops him, bumps him in the ring, comes off the top with a senton. Wardlow, a senton off the top. What form? What agility? What target? He missed him. I swear that was and the people popped anyway. But poor Wardlow, he went too far. He went straight over him. And it just goes to show when he gets the range down, he can do the move, because it was perfect. There was just nobody underneath it. But then, as Wardlow went for a power bomb, MJF from behind kicks him in the balls, and Spears hit a quick finish for a fast 2 count, but Wardlow still kicked out. And that's when Spears leaves and just opens the door. So did you notice that? Why was he climbing earlier if the door to the cage was not locked?
You're right.
But anyway, he was. So he leaves through the unlocked door. He gets a chair. He brings it in. MJF holds Wardlow. Spears swings. Wardlow ducks. Spears nails MJF. What a fucking bump. He just timber over it. He laid there motionless. And the people start chanting, "You fucked up." And then Spears does the slowly I turned, and there's Wardlow, and he grabs him 3 power bombs. A second referee runs in, 1 more power bomb on a chair. 1, 2, 3, huge pop. And there's a little bit of afterbirth here, but I love that. And the only thing, if they'd have thought of this, and I guess, oh goddamn, the UPS guy's bringing me some shit, leaving it in my driveway. I guess this worked also, but I did a deal one time in Smoky Mountain where it was the same thing. I was the referee of, oh goddamn, I can't remember who it was now. Is it one of the Freedom Halls and Johnson City shows? But I'm the referee and I'm taking up for the heel against the babyface. And we did a deal where the babyface makes his comeback, blah, blah, blah. And suddenly the fucking heel tries to do something, but the babyface sidesteps and the heel runs into me and knocks me goofy, and I'm laid down face down on the mat, and the babyface fucking hits the heel with whatever he's going to do, boom, covers him and grabs my limp hand and slaps the mat 3 times with it. So I was still the referee, and the referee of record still made the count. That might have been a cute little thing for Wardlow to do, but nevertheless, the people loved it. And then Wardlow grabs MJF and goes to fucking powerbomb him, but here comes security. And now they've got a reason to run at him one at a time because they're bottlenecked and log jammed at the cage door. So as they come through the cage door one at a time, boom, 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 he took out 15 of them. And MJF escaped and got away, and Wardlow's standing on that cage, and the people are going crazy. This may be, it wasn't the best match they've ever done on their television, obviously, but this may be for what it was supposed to do and the result it was supposed to get and the feeling you were supposed to be left with. This may be the best angle they've ever done, and it was under 15 minutes. What'd you think?
I don't know if I would call it the best angle they've ever done, but I thought it was great. The only sad thing was you knew that it was going to all be downhill after this because typically the MJF Wardlow segments and the Punk segments are the highlights of the show. Looking forward to this match. If it's a one and done, it'll be interesting to see what they do. If it's going to be a series of matches, it'll still be interesting. But I'm going to reiterate my fears, especially after watching the booking of the rest of the show. I really hope they don't mess up Wardlow because they got the chance to do something really, really cool here and have a special run for him. But you also need the booking to help out on the other side.
Yeah. And that, is up in the air. But I say it was the best angle because I'm trying to think of another one where the end turned out perfectly and it didn't go too long. There weren't too many extraneous people involved. It didn't take your mind off the point they were trying to make by the end of the thing. They were focused here. So I like that.
I don't know. Cody and Jade is still in a league of its own.
I know. It's a league of its own. 20,000 leagues under the sea. The Jericho appreciators were in the back bullying a production assistant. And after they do that, he just stand there staring at him. Suddenly, Jericho just jumps in and fucking throws a fireball in the guy's face, and he goes down screaming. And Jericho says, "I'm a wizard."
He makes the audience disappear.
Even if he had hit Kingston with the fireball, instead of setting the top of his head briefly on fire, if he'd hit him in the face with it, you don't then just go around throwing fireballs at the fucking hot dog guy. Because that, number one, people will kind of accept that it happens in between the wrestlers, amongst the wrestlers. They don't give it a lot of thought. But when you start going around and beating up or setting fire to production assistants, people that are just in the building, but then it becomes completely ridiculous and it diminishes and demeans the whole fireball deal to begin with. When I threw fucking fire and set Ronnie Garvin's face on fire, I got death threats, multiple legitimate death threats. He's burning miscellaneous crew members just to get a fucking cool camera shot.
Do you think it was so he could show that he could do it? Because he missed Kingston. Let's never forget that. He completely missed him.
Well, then burn another wrestler. Don't just my God.
In a throwaway backstage segment that lasted a minute.
Yeah, that we've never seen this guy before and are never going to see him again. But we're supposed to be worried he's in the burn unit. And nobody ever referred to the motherfucker. I mean, I know I skipped through or zone out some of the announcer business, but did anybody ever come back and say, well, poor Sam, he's been on the crew for 3 years and he's got a wife and kids and he's on his way to the burn unit now? No, they don't care because none of the announcers are going to talk about it because it was fucking stupid and fake to begin with.
Well, get well soon, Sam.
Sam, the TV man.
It's ridiculous. The whole Jericho thing is ridiculous. He can't decide on a gimmick. So now he just has like 10 of them. He's a wizard. He's the leader of the appreciators. He's, what was it? The trademark infringer, whatever he was. It's so bad. And everything he's involved with sucks so bad right now.
But we do wish Sam good luck.
Yes, Sam.
And then let's see if we can save this show. It was good at the start. It went sideways for a second, but now, like a Mussolini selling pay-per-view, here he comes. This was bizarre, to say the least. Tony Schiavone in the ring with the face-to-face with Adam Page and CM Punk. And half of this looked like a sports event, and half of it looked like sports entertainment with some cosplaying kid having a mental meltdown. Tony's in the ring, Punk's in the ring. Tony goes to interview Punk first. He actually conducts the interview, holds the microphone. Punk doesn't try to take it away from him. Punk, babyface is all hell, loves the fans. And he's looking forward to this weekend, and respectfully, he's going to walk out of that pay-per-view as the AEW champion. And then Tony goes to Hangman Adam Page, who's already getting booed because of things he's done last week or two. He starts the promo with a heelish attitude and doesn't say a lot. But then Punk asks him why he's taking it so personally, and he puts him over. And Punk sounds real and matter of fact. You've accomplished a lot. You got a lot of fans. What's the fucking bee in your bonnet here? Who pissed in your post toasties? And then Page takes the microphone away from Tony Schiavone. And now it becomes sports entertainment. And now we're not having two fighters on a UFC show being interviewed. We're having a fucking wrestler who is still trying to talk himself into thinking he's over. And it shows. He had a verbal meltdown. He said he would destroy, annihilate, and embarrass Punk, not at Double or Nothing, but right now. And then he screamed at Punk about blowing him up with a pipe bomb. And I wrote, why is he screaming now for no reason at this calm guy that's standing in front of him? But then Page said he realizes he can't destroy Punk tonight. It's not right to destroy him, but he will tell him off. And I'm like, what is he fucking saying? And one of his quotes was, hey, Punk, small, quiet moments make a champion. What? And so then, I mean, you heard all this, right?
I heard it all.
It was all over the page. He was screaming like a guy having a temper tantrum, trying to talk everybody else and himself into believing what he was saying with no conviction in his voice, while Punk stood there and looked down his nose at him like, what's this guy's fucking issue? He was all over the place. First he was going to destroy him tonight, then he wasn't. Then it was the best thing if he gets him at the pay-per-view, because Page says, I care about AEW, it's my home, and I'll defend AEW from you. What, from the ratings you bring, from the publicity you brought, from the interest you brought, from the fact that you're over and I'm not? I'm going to protect AEW from all of that. And then when he was finished, maybe that, whatever he was supposed to say, if he'd have said it like he was supposed to say it, it might have made sense. Because I can't honestly imagine. I can imagine Tony Khan saying, go out there and say what you want to say. But I can't imagine Punk going out where he didn't know that the guy that he was going to be working with had some coherent statement to make, even if he wasn't able to make it. But finally, when Page was finished, he tried to give the microphone back to Punk, who let Tony take it because Tony's the announcer and the host of the program. And then Punk resumed speaking. Well, you're talking in circles and it's all a big riddle. I don't think that was a pre-planned line. I think that was Punk realizing I have to respond to shit that nobody understood. So I'm going to acknowledge that I didn't really pick up on all of it without just wiping my feet on this fucking guy and telling him he's a complete gibbering idiot. But Punk then said, hey, the road you traveled to get here, I paved. And the lumber you used to build this house, I planted those trees and blah, blah, blah. And we're going to have a great contest this weekend, but you're going to shake my hand right now. And he tries to shake Page's hand, and Page is telling him off, and Punk shoves him, and Page punches him right in the face, and Punk goes down and sells his jaw and laughs at him. I mean, if this was a shoot, you would assume that this smarter, experienced veteran just made this young, unproven champion have a complete nervous breakdown till he didn't even understand what he was saying himself. So he owned his head, as they say. If it was a shoot, since it's a work, I think that Page just got completely lost and couldn't say suey if the hogs had him because his tongue lopped over his eye teeth and he couldn't see what he was saying. What do you think?
Well, Page clearly the last few weeks has been trying to turn it up a notch and maybe even respond to the criticism that he's been a feckless world champion. But there has been growing chatter that maybe there is some legitimate hurt feelings here, that maybe there are some issues, whether CM Punk knows what they are or not, that there may be some issues. And let me just lay out a scenario to you, something to think about here. You know, at the very beginning, all these guys were, he was going to defend AEW against CM Punk or from CM Punk, whatever he said there. The very beginning, that first press conference and everything, it was the Bucks and Cody and Omega. And then it was like the second tier guys, like Adam Page. First time we saw MJF. At that time, they thought Jelly Nutella was going to be one of their stars. Britt Baker, I think. Like, it was a long time ago. And what I think all of those guys know, and I think it's caused resentment several times, because I also don't think it's been hidden, is that they were all there from the beginning, but their boss wanted a couple other people there from the very beginning, too. And that was CM Punk. And if we're going to tell the truth here, it was Jim Cornette. And both people didn't do it. We're, of course, doing great. You may not have listened to The Dodger, but we did things our own way, and we now have the two biggest fucking shows of all time. But those guys know. But those guys know CM Punk was someone who AEW was set up for, you could say, in a way, from the very beginning. He could have said yes, and he would have been there from the very beginning. And since he's been there, if you notice, Punk hasn't been messing too much with the pantload clique out of Southern California and their friends. He's been dealing with people who can have legitimate, good, serious wrestling segments. MJF, Darby Allin. He's done a few different things. The Kingston thing, which sadly only went on like a week. But Punk's doing serious stuff at the same time that Punk is doing segments that are pretty much universally acclaimed. That he's drawing ratings, outselling everyone with merch. And he's also helping drive these pay-per-view numbers. At the same time, we have a world champion who, despite his in-match capabilities in the ring, has not inspired anyone. And in fact, it's gone the other way to even where the most hardcore AEW fan is questioning the entire title run of Adam Page, how he's been booked, how he's been used, and the fact that they went with him instead of looking at what was happening with Danielson and Punk about to come in. So that's a scenario I'm laying out to you. What do you think of that? That there's resentment maybe because of some of these things.
I think Harley is upset at you. Did you hear that? She scoffed at you. I think, and honestly, yes, Paige's booking was rotten. I mean, we talked about it for years. What are they doing with this fucking guy? And I'm not going to go over all the many wrong things they did. He is good in the ring, and he's athletic, and he's a good-looking kid. He would definitely be more over now if he had been booked as a singles top-level babyface champion-level attraction, you know, all the way through instead of what they did. But I'm wondering now, verbally and mentally, I mean, I don't think he does the same shit in every match. He's not going to vary his matchup. The blind moonsault, all the stuff, etc. And it's almost, his wrestling style lends itself more to playing with the kids than to actually having the dramatic matches. He can be led, but he doesn't do it on his own. So I'm wondering if even if he had been booked right, and was able to, as I said, you know, utilize, he can work, he can do the moves, he's very athletic, he looks good. But I think verbally and his psychology of how he does things or puts things together, I don't know that he would have gotten over if they'd have booked him right. We'll never know because they didn't book him right for 3 years. But I'm wondering why I'm seeing other people now that they didn't do much for either, surpassing him in terms of response and reaction and oomph. So we'll see. Maybe he just needed to be, you know, old farm boy Adam Page and be in the middle somewhere and play with the Dork Order, and that would have been great. And he could have looked great in that atmosphere because he wouldn't have been at the top mix. I don't know.
Well, here's the other thing. Beyond any palace intrigue that we're talking about here, like you said, none of this makes any sense. Why all of a sudden is he angry? Why all of a sudden is it AEW versus CM Punk? It made no sense. None of this makes any sense, yet this makes a lot more sense than some of the other things leading up to the pay-per-view. Do you think they're going to have a title change on the pay-per-view?
I certainly hope so. Because, again, it's wasting the world title to not have it on not only one of the bigger stars, but also one of the guys who's performing ratings-wise and in the ring and with the interest of the people. And Page is just another one of the guys that has regular matches. It's, so yeah. And then switch him heel and try to rehabilitate him. Switch him full-fledged heel. Let Punk win the belt and let Page do something horrible and shocking and shameful, and just tell everybody to piss off. He's been a nice guy too long and whatever, and then use him as a single, give him some wins, and see if he can figure out how to talk like a heel because he can't talk like a babyface. Might work. Who knows? Before you cut bait on him, let's try that.
I think of Bret Hart. And I'm a big Bret Hart fan, and I think Bret Hart was worlds better than Adam Page as a world champion, even that first title run. But people look at that first title run as kind of like a trial run for what it would later be, because it wasn't really that special. But the second time Bret got the world title, he felt like a world champion.
Yeah.
So it could happen. But he doesn't. But he's not really into masturbatory Bret Hart comments, so maybe I shouldn't compare him to Bret Hart.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Well, especially since Bret Hart was a bigger star and better worker and drew more money and had more fans than he will ever hope to attain in his entire life. So speaking of masturbatory, they put it all out on the next one. Here they had not only William Regal, but every member of the Jericho Appreciators at the desk. So there were 9 people, I think, at the desk doing color. Private Party make an entrance. Moxley and Eddie Kingston jump them on the floor. They attempt to have a match. Same thing as every week. Moxley and Kingston win. And immediately the Jericho appreciators attack, and they have a fake fight on the floor. Did you see some of the body punches that were being thrown? And did you see some of Jericho's elbows? I can't remember who he had, but he had a guy, and he was like he was playing patty cake. He was fake elbowing the guy over and over on top of the head. And and then here come the referees, and here comes Bryan Danielson. And they tear up a bunch of shit at ringside, and they all leave, and if there was one good-looking stiff shot thrown, it wasn't on camera. But again, just a bad match. The baby faces jumpstart the thing. They have a bad match. Then they have a fake fight on the floor with 15 people. That's pretty much the Jericho segment every week now. But then they're like going odd and even. Good and bad. Good segment, bad segment. Good segment, bad segment. So that was a bad segment. It's time for a good segment. The Ring of Honor Tag Team title. FTR defending. They brought Caprice Coleman in to be on color. That you know what? It was so refreshing to hear somebody that I actually wanted to listen to that sounded like they wanted to be there.
He was great, and I even enjoyed him more here than I did the last few times I heard him with Ian in Ring of Honor. And it's nothing against Ian, but maybe just the fact that he had that arena and that noise behind him, because he's a guy that calls it like a sporting event.
Yeah.
I really liked it. He was great here. I hope Tony does more with him.
He could certainly replace excrement next week and be just fine. But anyway, FTR defended against Trent and Rocky Romero. And here, Rocky Romero seems to be serious about being a wrestler. He's not the biggest dog in the fight, but everything I've seen of him, he was serious. Rocky Romero seems to be serious about being a wrestler. Every time I've seen him, he's serious. Not the biggest dog in the yard, but he's athletic and he tries hard. And when he came in, they stuck him with the Puddin' Gang just because of whatever they do in Japan. Like anybody would fucking know if they wanted to use Rocky Romero. Hey, here's a young, talented athlete. We're not going to put him with Chucklefuck and the rest of the goofballs so you don't think he's an idiot. We're going to let his talent speak for itself. But no, so he's partners with Trent, who always said his work was fine, but he's deader than 4 o'clock because he's been killed by his shit partner and his mother in her minivan. So they had a good tag team match here, but the thinking that anybody would be interested in Trent and Rocky Romero, that's, for reasons I just mentioned, that's sad. But they had a nice tag team match, serious and a good pace. Then they got a couple sets of heat, got heat on Cash first, come back, went to the break, heat on Dax second. If I'd have seen Trent and Rocky before I saw Trent and Chucklefuck, I wouldn't have a problem. Well, if his mother and her minivan hadn't been involved, I wouldn't have a problem with Trent. But finally, it went back and forth, got just a bit busy, and then Rocky and Trent hit a false finish, and suddenly, here comes, I remember Jeff Cobb. We saw him once, about a year and a half ago on this program, but here comes down the aisle Jeff Cobb and Grado Khan. Is Grado Khan the Japanese cousin of Grado from the UK?
Oh, I thought he was the Japanese cousin of Tony Khan.
Well, it's another Khan, but Grado Khan. So they hit the ring. And I wrote, why? Who? What? It's a disqualification, ringing the bell. They attacked everybody, both teams. And this took a good, solid tag team match with professionals into the realm of Outlaw Mud Show. They completely, did you see the botched double team on Dax?
I did.
So old Jeff Cobb picks Dax up in a fireman's carry over his shoulder, and Grado hits the ropes and comes off like for a fucking RKO neck breaker, whatever, and fucking jumped up and grabbed Dax's head and then fell in a heap on the ground. And then once his partner hit the floor, that's when Jeff Cobb went with the rest of the move. And then they powerbombed Dax through a table. And then they set up another table outside on the floor, and Grado, who was wearing a white glove, and apparently we were told by Sockface that he uses the claw as his finish. God damn it. Did you see the Phantom Claw? We were in Lewiston, Maine, the Phantom Punch all over again. Brian, did you slow-mo it like I did when I couldn't believe my eyes the first time?
I didn't, but I should have.
Grado gets a phony claw on Trent, and he's not even like a Von Erich claw where they put some oomph into it, but he's just got his hand on the guy's face, and they both together walk up. He's got the guy's face in a fake claw, and Trent is like walking with him like he has no other choice. And they go to the fucking apron of the ring, and you could see the daylight between this guy's hand and Trent's head. And then Grado goes to choke claw slam Trent off the apron through the table and lost his grip. And Trent obviously and plainly and visibly just jumped up and off the apron and went with it anyway. So he took a phantom claw slam off the apron of the ring through the table. I feel so sorry for FTR. If they're not working with amateurs, they've got amateurs running in. They've got amateurs booking them. They've got amateurs in the ring against them. They've got amateurs doing angles in their matches afterwards. And God almighty, must be like a fucking heart surgeon going into a goddamn first aid class in 6th grade. So that was that. Did I miss anything?
I don't think so. You liked it a little more than I did. I think the crowd being disinterested hurt it. And I think the fact that FTR was so over, they got a major pop coming out. And then maybe this said something about how many people pay attention to New Japan in that audience in Las Vegas. How many know Roppongi Vice? How many would be excited by Roppongi Vice? But it didn't seem like anyone thought they would win, and didn't seem like too many people cared about the match. And then the post-match angle, which... nice to see Jeff Cobb there and whoever his friend is. But that went on way too long, like everything does. And it was a train wreck, and if anything, if there's one positive I hope comes out of this, and I'm pretty optimistic about this one, I hope FTR gets to work in New Japan a little bit, because we'll get to see some more FTR matches that are serious without any shenanigans.
Well, if this bunch of fucking chuckle fucks is from New Japan, I don't hold out a lot of hope for that to happen.
Yeah, you're not wrong. What am I saying?
Yeah. So the next match was our triple threat for the evening, Ricky Starks versus Swerve Strickland versus Jungle Boy. You know, they have these three ways a lot, Brian. You've seen them before. So that's why I thought that it would be preferable for everybody to just go back to the last fucking clip on the YouTube channel of me talking about an AEW triple threat match and just listen to that, because there's nothing different. It's always all the same, and it makes no sense. Swerve won this time. And then Hobbs attacked, and then here came Dino Douche, and then here came Keith Lee. And when Keith Lee was making his entrance, everybody stopped fighting in the middle of the ring to stand there and watch him walk in. Did you notice that?
I did.
There's Dino and fucking who the fuck he was fighting with, Hobbs. And of course, Dino makes Hobbs look like shit because Hobbs is a future superstar, but he hits the fucking idiot in the dinosaur mask and it doesn't kill him and it looks like shit. But anyway, they all stand there. They just stop fighting and stand and watch Keith Lee get in the ring. And then all three of the big guys have a short, sloppy fight. And Dino and Hobbs ended up on the floor standing next to each other, even though they're enemies. And so Keith Lee could flip over the top. And I use the word flip loosely. It was like a rhinoceros rolling down a hill. He rolled over the top rope and on top of both of them, wiped them both out on the floor. So this was an angle afterbirth with, I don't know which was worse, the rotten layout or the piss poor execution. But that's what happened there. Did I miss anything in the triple threat match that doesn't always happen every week?
I'm not a big fan of these matches. I'll say this. To me, Jungle Boy's become a non-entity. Ricky Starks is ready for more. They should do more with him. They're wasting the TNT title. No one gives a fuck about that right now. No one cares about Scorpio Sky or any of that. Do something more with Ricky Starks. And the other thing is...
Hobbs.
And Hobbs, of course, but Ricky Starks. We always bring up Hobbs, and Ricky Starks gets left behind. Even his manager left him behind. I don't know what happened to Taz. Where is Taz? That's another question.
Taz? Where's Big Show? Where's Mark Henry?
They're all hanging out of catering, I guess. But the other thing I was going to say, and I said a little bit about this last time, Swerve Strickland. This guy has shown more personality. He's shown more in the ring, more creativity, everything, more confidence here than he ever did in NXT. Right now, they got him with Keith Lee. We'll see how far they go with that. But they got something with him they could really run with. He's got size. He could talk. He's got a look. He's athletic. He's bigger than I thought he was in NXT.
How big a boy is he? What times his brother get off?
But next time you see Swerve, give him a fair look, because I've been pretty impressed.
If he's not. I said last week I liked his promo, and if he's not in a 3-way or a 4-way or a 6-way or whatever, I'll watch him next time. But I just couldn't. Okay. I couldn't stand that. What do I think?
Nah, forget it.
Forget it. Dan Lambert. Goddamn, at this point, he's just writing the shit down on a fucking piece of poster board and reading it off, isn't he? He's got so many cute lines that he has to memorize to get them in that he just rattled it off like he was reading the phone book. There was no pause. There was no inflection. It's just reading the cute material. And like you said, nobody cares about Sky. Nobody cares about the other page. I don't know why they're still doing this. And also, we don't know who the fuck is supposed to be. Where was Sammy and Bitchface either on this program?
Seemingly, they've been kept off TV for a little bit. And also, they were alluding to the fact that the TNT title was destroyed or ruined. And I don't know what the hell they're talking about. We haven't seen any of that on this show either. Maybe it's on TNT.
Tony had interview duty a lot, and he's especially with the women. He interviewed Thunder Rosa, which she did a promo that was quite a bit better than poor old Serena Deeb's last week. And then he's in the back moments later with Red Velvet and Ruby Soho. And Red Velvet gets to say shit in a backstage pre-tape. One of the lower rung girl talents on the roster gets to say shit. For what fucking reason? Yeah, they don't even try to keep their shit special. And then we had the Owen Hart tournament match with Britt Baker and Tony Storm, and I started watching this and I got distracted and I forgot to finish watching it. But Britt Baker won. What did I miss?
I didn't really care. I didn't watch.
Okay. Then let's get to the fucking main event of the match, because after all that's why I was going to ask about the ratings. I can believe that whatever they started with, they kept it through the first 15 minutes because that was Dynamite, Wardlow and Spears and MJF and etc. The Jericho appreciators stunk the joint out, but it was only a short backstage pre-tape. Then it was Punk and Page, so I'm thinking they kept people fairly well there. Then we had the 15-man garbage wrestling Moxley fight thing. But then it was followed by a good tag team match with FTR. But then the bad angle after FTR and the triple threat match with goofballs and the Lambert promo and Rosa promo and Velvet promo and Britt Baker and Tony Storm. Who did they have left by the time we got to Samoa Joe and Kyle O'Reilly?
Are you asking for the numbers now?
That's what I'm asking. Before we go to the main event, they had a pretty good first hour, all things considered, and then that long period of shite with nobodies. Did they lose people by the end, or did they stick around to see Joe and O'Reilly?
I have the quarterly breakdowns here from the Wrestling Observer newsletter this week. It says that the audience did huge numbers until the NBA game started.
Oh, that's a convenient excuse. What time did the NBA game start? About the time the shitty segments start?
We'll find out in a moment. The first segment, Wardlow versus Shawn Spears in the cage with MJF. 1,126,000 viewers.
Wow. For them, that's a number.
The second segment, which says here, Chris Jericho throwing fire, which lasted a minute, and the Adam Page CM Punk face-to-face did 1,051,000 viewers.
So it dropped about, close to 100,000.
The game then started at this point. Coincidentally, when the Jericho Appreciation Society came out. But the numbers were still high for this segment. Moxley and Kingston versus Private Party. Hey guys, remember when the Bucks put over Private Party, making them stars?
Yeah. Nobody else does, but we do because we wrote it down.
This match did 1 million viewers. Following that, we had FTR versus Roppongi Vice, 876,000 viewers.
Yeah.
Then we had Cobb and the Great Okan's attack on FTR, and the Hardy promo, as well.
I forgot about the Hardys. They were in there running their mouths.
And then, the three-way match, 850,000 viewers.
Ooh, okay.
The end of the three-way match, the Lambert and Crew promo and the Thunder Rosa promo and Velvet Sky and Ruby went to 842,000 viewers.
Not as big a drop as I was feared it might be.
No, that was the next segment. Britt Baker versus Toni Storm.
Oh, after they saw all that, they gave up.
822,000 viewers.
And
then that rose back up for Joe versus O'Reilly to 863,000 viewers.
So they ended up they got 40,000 back, but they were still 250 or 300,000 below at the end of the show what they started with. Yeah, the NBA. All right, anyway, let's go back to that main event because I said I think I would like to have seen Adam Cole and Kyle O'Reilly because they've had good matches in the past. But my hope was that Samoa Joe would go all the way with this thing and that they wouldn't beat him. And so far, so good. And I knew this was going to be a good match because these guys give a shit and they're not going to do any funny, phony, hokey, square dancing fucking, grabbing a hold of each other and flipping about and holding each other up. It started like a fight, strikes and grappling and shooting for the leg. Joe lands those heavy chops and he manhandles O'Reilly and comes off like a badass. And by the way, now that Samoa Joe has joined the party, do you see Keith Lee has dropped a rung or two again and might not even know it?
Well, he's now a tag team competitor currently.
Well, it doesn't matter. You got a big, badass 300-plus pound fucking Greyhound bus that's a killer. And Samoa Joe, he can also talk and he can also work and he can also look like a badass instead of talking like Fraser Crane and smelling invisible farts on his way to the ring. Keith Lee is losing more and more fucking of the things that made him unique when other people have them. Anyway, Joe had a weakness. He had the bad shoulder/arm where Jay Lethal and Sanjay and Zippy the Pinhead had hit him with the lead pipe. So they get heat on the bad shoulder and arm. And O'Reilly's active and vicious with that. But finally, Joe makes a comeback. People were chanting for him. He goes for the muscle buster. O'Reilly fights out into the fucking Fujiwara armbar. Joe gets the ropes. They're having a wrestling match. And then finally O'Reilly, because he's a heel, rips off Joe's arm wrap and the tape and everything. And he's really going to dig in, but Joe fights back. They're trading kicks. O'Reilly goes for a roll-up, and Joe rolls through it and gets the fucking rear naked choke. And not only does Kyle pass out, but before he does, he foams at the mouth. It looked great. Joe wins. Rear naked choke. O'Reilly looked great in him doing it, and they actually had a professional style wrestling match on this program. So I was happy to see that instead of the way they've been closing the past several weeks. But then Adam Cole's music played, and out he comes, and then my DVR froze. I don't know if anything happened. I don't know about it. Did that sum up the main event there, Brian Last?
Good match. I sincerely hope they don't put Adam Cole over Samoa Joe. I completely think they're going to put Adam Cole over Samoa Joe, and Britt Baker will win the other tournament. And
that would be insane. There's no reason for Cole not to do jobs now. He's been beat by everybody so far, but they would tell people that he can be beaten by pockets, but Samoa Joe can't handle him. What the fuck would that be all about? And by the way, it's been a couple of weeks since we've seen that piece of shit with his hand stuck in his crotch. You think maybe Tony finally smartened up about that, got a little buyer's remorse, went on to the new occupant of the clown car, Danhausen?
I don't know. I thought we heard he got hurt. Pockets.
Oh, well, how would you know? He looks pretty fucking emaciated anyway.
Bigger than Adam Cole.
Well, I didn't say he was prisoner of war-like. I just said he was emaciated. But, that's AEW for this past week, and all I've got to say is Samoa Joe is a mean motor scooter and a bad go-getter. But, folks, if your motor scooter won't go get her, wherever she is, down the block or in the next state, that means you need to do some maintenance. Whether your car, your truck, your motor scooter, your bicycle, your tricycle, your unicycle, your boat, your plane, your train, or your motorized conveyance, if none of those will run, and actually everybody has at least one of those hanging around, you need parts. You need maintenance. You need to fix this shit. Brian, have you fixed your shit lately?
My shit's good.
Your shit's good? Well, my shit's even better. I was worried about my brakes, but then I broke them off and shoved them up somebody's ass. And right now, folks, you can fix your car, truck, etc., with all the parts it will ever need, courtesy of our friends at rockauto.com. That's right, they're a family business. The Bonanno family. They've been breaking arms and...
That's not the family that owns Rock Auto.
It's a different family.
That's a different family.
RockAuto.com's family is a nice family. And they have several generations have been involved. They've been serving auto parts customers online for 20 years. And back before that, they served them out of the trunk of a car, the old way, the way that it used to be. And still to this day, if you go to rockauto.com, you'll get the lowest prices and the widest selection available for anything that your vehicle needs, from parts to carpet. And the price is always reliably low because they're the same for professionals and do-it-yourselfers. So, save your money for more important things like mortgage, food, hookers, and join the revolution of rockauto.com. Amazing selection, reliably low prices, all the parts that your car will ever need. As a matter of fact, the last time I got some parts for my car, they were so good, I had 3 or 4 of them sumbitches left over when I was finished fixing it. So I started fixing another car. And the guy that owned that car was pissed because he said it wasn't broke, but I fixed it anyway. And folks, when you go to rockauto.com, write JCE in the How Did You Hear About Us box, and they'll know that what to do from there. They will have a governmental agency keeping an eye on you because you're part of my crowd. rockauto.com, all the parts your car will ever need. rockauto.com.